Hello guys, this is Doronsmovies and welcome to the 9th episode of the Big Q&A. In this video, I will do a follow-up on the previous Q&A I did a few months back and the survey I put up, and I also have an announcement to make as well. Of course, there will be the lore part. This is the main reason why I'm doing this. So if this is your first video on the channel, remember to click the times in the description below to skip to the sections of the video if you don't care to listen to certain parts of it. So I'm going to start out with the announcement. Now, for a while I've been thinking about creating a subreddit, a website, a forum, some way to create a community chat. So right now I figured out that the best way to start would be to create a Discord server. I mean, it is simple enough and I can interact with you guys directly. I was debating this for a while whether I really want to do it or not, but I figured it would be a good way to interact and discuss the lore, share video ideas, and just really talk directly as opposed to just YouTube comments. The primary purpose of this Discord server will be lore, so it will be kinda themed, so discussing the story, the new Chronicle book, speculations, a lot of other stuff. You know, there will be some off-topic talk as well, but I will try to keep some rules to it. The server will be open to everyone, so everyone can join that has a registered account, but I really want to moderate its chat so that it doesn't turn completely toxic. Of course, there will be rules in place. It won't be like PG, you can't swear, like censorship or anything like that, but I really want to keep it as a controlled environment. Also, I have a bot in the chat that will be tracking activity of the people in there, so if you're active in the chat you can get promoted to high ranks. From there you can join like special chats, ask me like direct questions, you can get the lore master rank, which will be sort of like a certified position where you can answer other people's questions and have a bit of an authority on the server. I will also be there, of course, online for quite a bit, and you can talk to me in a more direct way as opposed to, as I said, YouTube comments or just sending messages. So I'm really excited to see how this server will progress, and feel free to join it as the link is in the description of this video. Now, on another topic and something I've mentioned for quite a bit, and that is the schedule. I feel like I talk about this in every video I do, but it really has been a problem for the past few months as I released way fewer videos than I usually do. Really, to be completely honest, the main reason for that is because I've been kinda demotivated by the video making process in general, and I feel like it is kinda getting stale. For this reason, I put up a survey in the previous Q&A, and I got a ton of answers which have been extremely helpful. I've read through all of them, wrote some notes, and took some things out of that I wanna change. So, of course, for this reason, I did put up a survey. The main point is that I kinda want to switch it up, and by that, I don't mean like I want to switch up the channel direction and just post some gameplay videos or something like that. The video topics will still be the same, the theme of the channel, the lore, but I'm thinking about maybe switching up the way the video process works, like the video editing. You won't really notice a big difference compared to the previous videos, but I will be trying out some new possible formats and seeing how it goes. When I say new formats, I mean something like when I started the How Powerful Are Classes, I might start something like that, similar to that. Not really how powerful is something, but you know, kind of switching it up from just explaining the lore. As I mentioned, the lore will still be the main theme of the channel, and I don't really plan to change this anytime soon. In regards to the entire thing getting stale, I'm really looking forward to using the new Chronicle book to kinda restart this channel and just pump out new videos. At the point of this recording, it is like the 9th of March right now, so I don't have the book, I don't have any deals with Blizzard, so I can't read it, and I can only read it in like a week. But if it is at least half as good as the first volume, you can definitely expect quite a few videos covering it. I want to do it like the last time. Last time I did like a 3-part, really big video. It was like 45 minutes when you took all 3 videos. That took so much, and it really didn't do that great on the channel. I know some people enjoyed it, but the work I put into that just didn't pay off. So what I'm thinking about doing is kind of doing like videos on the actual topics, like a lot of videos on the topics from the book, sort of something like I already have done on the channel in the past 2 months. You know, like the Tauren lore, I was actually planning to do Dwarf lore, I didn't still do that, but I did like Night Elven lore, Tauren lore, I did like some city lore and like the Crystal Song Forest, you know, just like these short stories of the books from the book turned into videos, so you can definitely expect something like that. Also, to tie this thing getting stale with the first announcement I mentioned, a big part of why I decided to create a Discord server is to kinda help out with the passion for video making, as I feel like when I discuss the lore, when I read comments, when I talk with other people, throw ideas around, speculate, I really get motivated to work on more videos, so this can definitely help benefit the YouTube channel. So that is about all there really is for the, well, it's not really the real life part, but kind of the channel updates. This video will be a bit shorter. The main reason I'm making this right now is to announce the Discord server and also talk about what is coming up with the Chronicle book. Now, on to the lore, we have 4 questions. The first question is by Giuseppe Biondino, I think, and he asks, the question I always had is, why can't every race that can play as warriors and priests not be able to play as a paladin? For example, Forsaken. So this is both of a game mechanic thing and also a lore thing. The best answer to your question is that not all priests are priests in the traditional sense. For example, Thralls can be priests, but they're much more like witch doctors, and their powers depend on like the specific Loa they worship, and they barely have anything in common with the human priests that cast the light and have all of these light spells. Of course, in the game all spells are the same, but lore-wise that is very much different, and really it is understandable that Blizzard can't make up a new class from the existing class for every possible race, because that would just be a huge headache when it comes to game balance, PvP, PvE, and really anything to do with the actual game. Also, to the other part of the question, paladins are a very recent thing, if you don't count the Draenei ones, who are a bit different. In the case of Forsaken, their priests are mostly shadow priests, and you don't really have shadow paladins, even though that would actually be a really cool thing to see. I would really like to see something like shadow paladins, like the Void Paladin warriors, but that doesn't exist at this point, and I don't really think it will. So, to simply answer your question, it is because very rarely are all classes universal between all races, and in most cases they have different traits. Okay, the next question is by Samo29 or Samo29, and he asks, how is the stealth which rogues use explained lore-wise? Okay, so this is a very tricky question, and saying that the lore surrounding this is vague is a huge understatement. Stealth is sort of like a game mechanic-y thing where the rogue just disappears, but it does have some lore to it. Blizzard themselves officially said that rogues could utilize shadow magic, but it is not exactly clear if this is shadow magic, like the actual magic that the shadow priests use, so it is definitely a vague thing. I don't think that rogues are really the masters of magic in any sense of the word, but it could be possible that they have learned some basics of magic in order to supplement their abilities. It would sort of be like a warrior learning like a light spell just to heal himself or create some shield. It's not really a thing, but this is kinda the way I see it. When it comes to the lore, I would say that this would definitely heavily depend on the specific rogues, as there might be some that don't even know anything about magic, and there could be some that have picked up some basics of it. In general, the rule for Warcraft lore is that magic is just a very vague thing in general. We don't really know how exactly it works, we have some theories, some contradictory facts, but in general, we don't really know too much about it. The rogues could possibly use some sort of smoke bombs and just be stealthy in general, like stealth does exist in the real world. However, the entire stealth as it is in the game, where you have a rogue that just disappears and when he is near someone he can see him, is really not that lore correct. Otherwise, you know, if this was shadow magic, shadow priests and warlocks would be able to utilize stealth to a much greater extent than a rogue, and you wouldn't wanna fight with like a shadow priest that is invisible because his magic is extremely powerful. Okay, we got another question by YM Gaming, and he asks, I have a question, what do you think Thrall's future in the Warcraft universe will be after he loses the Doom Hammer? In my opinion, I feel like Thrall, at this point in the lore, is just going to kinda take a backseat and let other characters have their spotlight. In a sense, Thrall was kinda Madsen's favorite character, sort of like his baby, and I feel like he saw himself as the character, as it was pretty obvious through Cataclysm, where they drastically changed Thrall, and now that Madsen has retired, I feel like Thrall is also going to kinda retire. In the past, we had Thrall saving the Horde, he helped save the world, the planet, and all this stuff, killing Deathwing, and now he has a child and a wife, and he's kinda settled down, and he's obviously a lot weaker in Legion, so I don't think that he will disappear from the game or like sacrifice himself. It could be possible that he could do something like that, but I kinda doubt it. However, I do feel that he will just be there throughout the expansion, sort of like a side character. In a way, something like that he has already done in Legion. Like, he is present, but he is no longer like the main character and we rely on him to save the world. So I really hope that answers your question. The last question is by Byron, and he asks, how do you feel about the overall lore of Legion so far? You said that you're disappointed that Argus will be the part of a patch content, but what about everything else? Well, I'm still definitely disappointed with the fact that Argus won't be an entire expansion. I was really hoping that it would be, but so far I've definitely been happy with the Legion lore. They added a ton of new zone lore and a ton of new like character lore and the new race lore. It's kinda cool because this new lore ties in with the old one, as you could see for example in High Mountain with the Tauren and all of the others that were already there, but now we're kinda seeing their side of the story. Also, I feel like in this expansion a lot of things are getting put in action that were being kinda cooked, being prepared by the previous expansions and books and comics and the short stories. I am kinda expecting the future expansions to even unravel more lore than Legion, such as a possible Warlord expansion, but the only downside I kinda see is that the new lore is retconning a lot of the old stuff, and not even that really bothers me. What really bothers me about the new lore is that Blizzard writes something that contradicts the old stuff, and they don't address it at all, so you don't know if this is retconned or not, and it's really like a vague thing. For example, like the rogue thing I talked about earlier, they said in the Legion class previews that rogues use some shadow magic, but they never really talk too much about it, so you don't really know, do they use shadow magic, what is going on, like is this true or not. So there's a lot of vague stuff, and it becomes even vaguer when they add new lore and they contradict the old one, and then they don't really fix it, they just kind of ignore the issue. There is a lot of these areas in the Warcraft lore, and a lot of them really appeared, especially in the last few years. However, in my opinion, most changes are good, as I feel like they add more depth to the story, like the Void Lord story, the Burning Legion, the entire Titan thing that was added in Chronicle, and even the new, like the actual expansion lore. I feel like it has more depth than Warcraft originally had, but I really wish they kinda did that earlier, that it didn't really have so many contradictory statements. Also, with the Legion, things are kinda moving a bit too fast. I feel like they're trying to kinda rush a lot of lore into just one expansion, which is not really a bad thing, but it's also not really a great thing. I don't know, from a lore perspective it's not, but from a game perspective I think it is, because I feel like people are already getting tired of just playing expansions that are setting something up or that are not really like that important, like saving the world from the Legion. So all in all, I definitely think that the new lore is good. Alright, so that is all I have for this Q&A. This was episode 9. Feel free to leave your questions in the comment section below. Also make sure to write something like question for the big Q&A, just so I can search it in the YouTube comments and so I can answer it in the next video. Also feel free to join the Discord, as I mentioned it at the start of the video, as the link is in the description below. Thanks a lot for taking time out of your day to watch this video, and see you next time.